Hello, I'm Timo, and this is the first video for my Unreal Engine tutorial series. On this one, I will show you how to get started with Unreal Engine and what to keep in mind when you create your first project. But first, I'll give you a short introduction. I have a small company, and at the moment, I work alone with Unreal Engine related projects. Occasionally, we'll hire someone to help us with a large project, but the team size is usually just two people at the most. I create rendered images or animations for business to business presentation or marketing purposes. That usually includes technical details and specifics about the product, or it's something that is too hard or impossible to film, like, for example, how copper is melted in a furnace. I have several clients and I want to have a separate Unreal project for each one. I also want to keep all the projects up to date without manually updating all of them one by one. So I developed a workflow for these purposes specifically. I'm mostly using open source or free to use software so the collaboration is easier. This means that you will be able to do everything for free also. So let's get started. First, you need an Epic Games account and you need to install the Epic Games launcher. Go to the Epic Games website. You can search for Epic Games on your favorite browser or click the link down below on the description. Once you are here, you can click the download button and get the launcher installation package. After that, click the little button next to the download button to create an Epic account. You can enter an email and register manually, or you can use an existing account, like for example a Google account. Personally, I like to create a new account because I don't like to link my existing accounts to different services. The account creation is simple and you will just need to verify your email with the code they send you. Now that you have that set up, you need to install the launcher. Go to your downloads location and click the installer. You can use the default location because the launcher itself is not that large of an installation. Here is the launcher UI. You will most probably be on the store page first. Here you can find different free games every week or so. Usually the games are not very big title games, but check them out anyway. Sometimes even the smaller games have good innovation on UI or graphics design. Now click on the Unreal Engine tab and you will see some Unreal related news. On the Samples tab, you can check out some Epic Games' own example projects. I will probably include some of them in my tutorials. Then you have a separate Marketplace tab for Unreal Engine content. There's a free for the month section, so remember to check it out every month or so. You can also sell your own Unreal related content on the marketplace, but more about the marketplace content later. Finally, we get to the library tab. Here you can install Unreal Engine and you have your recent projects. Also underneath there's a vault section where you will have your content from the marketplace. You can install several versions of the engine. I have the latest version already installed. Now you can click the plus icon and it will add a new version underneath. It will automatically be the latest version if you don't have any versions installed. Click the install button and it will ask where you would like to have the engine installed. If you have several drives available, you might want to install the engine to some other partition than C, where you have your operating system. When you click on options, you can select which package you want to have installed. You should install the starter content, templates and features pack, and the engine source. The editor symbols for debugging is just needed for debugging if your game starts to crash. As you can see, it's quite a large package, being almost 60 gigabytes. You can always install it later if needed, so there's no need to install it right now. Scroll downwards and you will have your targeted platforms. I like to test my projects on my phone, so I will always install the Android package. You can just deselect the other ones if you don't plan on testing your game on them. So now underneath the options, you can see required storage space. When you have a new beta version come out, you will have to install that one separately. On top of the game version, Unreal will build a shader library, and that will default to C drive. Also, all your downloaded marketplace stuff will be downloaded to C drive by default. So I highly recommend that you install the engine version to a separate drive if possible. Now hit apply and click install. This will take a long while, so be patient. The launcher is first going to download everything, then it will check that the downloaded data is not corrupted, and finally install the engine to the specified location. Now that you have the engine version installed, you can click on the launch button. This will take a while because the engine is loading everything and might also build some shaders. Now you can see the Unreal Project browser. Here you have tabs for different industries, and within each category you have several project templates. They all have good examples of game logic or blueprints for specific needs. At some point, you should create a different project for several of them and see how they work. I will get back to this in other tutorials. But for now, let's start with the Games tab and the third person template. This way, we have a playable character and we get a good sense of scale. Keep the selection on Blueprint. We are going to use visual coding, and you can later explore the possibilities of C++. Target platform can be desktop even if you plan on testing the project on mobile. Quality is also scalable, so you can leave it on maximum. Starter content has a lot of good examples, so you can select it for this project. Ray tracing can be toggled on later, so you can leave it off. Now we move on to the project location. You should really think about this one. The choice is yours, but I recommend you use a work folder where you can store all your projects. For me, it's D drive and projects folder. Project name should reflect the template in this situation. I like to add UE in front of the project name so Windows File Explorer will arrange the projects better. So let's name this UE underscore third person. Do not use spaces in the name, and also the name has to be under 20 characters long, or it will warn you about it. I don't know if there's an actual problem with the project name that's over 20 characters long, but Unreal keeps warning about it, so just keep it under 20 characters. Now you can just hit create. Now you should see the Unreal Engine editor. Depending on your system specs, you might notice that your computer is starting to heat up. This is because the editor is running like a normal game. It is using high graphics settings and running the viewport at maximum frame rate. So the first thing you should do is click on this round button on the left upper corner. Now click the real-time option off. This will freeze the game viewport and won't stress your system. I won't go through the whole UI because there are so many things that you would just forget most of it. I'll just show you a couple important things. First of all, how to move the viewport. Move your mouse so that it's somewhere inside the viewport window. Push down your right mouse button, Now keep it pressed and move your mouse. This is how you can look around your current scene. To move, you will have to use the W, A, S, and D keys on your keyboard. This is the standard movement in most of the first and third person games, so if you have played any games, you'll be right at home. W will move forward, S backward, A to the left, and D to the right. Remember that you need to keep pressing your right mouse button for the keys to work. You can also use the mouse wheel to zoom in and out without moving. You can left click on any item and it will be selected. You will see a movement gizmo that has arrows that you can grab and that will move the object. On the right side, you see the outliner window that is showing all the objects on the current scene. The object you selected will be highlighted on the outliner. Now that you have an object selected, you will see the details of the object on the details window. You can see the specific location, rotation, and scale of the object. There's also the actual mesh that the object is using and the material and so on. If you are experiencing some pauses when you are starting to rotate your viewport, or your computer is heating up when you are moving for a long time, you should lower your graphics settings. To do this, on the upper right corner you have a settings button. Click on it and move your mouse to engine scalability settings. Here you can lower the graphics quality of the viewport. You can test what preset to use so that you get a smooth experience when you move the viewport. Now you can test how to play the current scene you are looking at. On the left side of the platforms button you have a green triangle. This will launch the actual game. The mouse is not controlling the game yet. You can click the red square if you want to quit the game at this point. To move the character, you must first click on the viewport. This will bind your mouse to the game and your mouse cursor will disappear. You can now look around by moving your mouse. And to move the character, you can use the WASD keys. You don't need to keep the right mouse button pressed when you are playing the game. To leave the game, click the ESC button on your keyboard. Now you have your first project up and running. And now you know the basics of the editor UI. This project is using a template, but the next tutorial will be a bit deeper dive on how to create your own project. There's a lot to go through before you should start creating blueprints and logic to your own game. This will be important so that you won't make the same mistakes that I did at the beginning. Subscribe and leave a like if you like what you saw. I'll be back with a new tutorial as soon as possible.